everybody. Should be live now. Let me just get some things adjusted. And I gotta make an announcement on Discord and we'll get started. How's everyone doing tonight? Let me know if you can hear me okay. If the music is at a good level. Okay, I think that should be good. All right. Hello, Space Dragon. Hello, Kivarstra. How's it going? Thank you, Space Dragon, for letting me know. Kivarstra, thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight, I don't know if we'll get to modeling. We probably won't. We're close, but I want to actually like refine this concept to the level where I would be satisfied with it being like presented, you know, like to the rest of the team. I mean, the rest of the team has already seen it, but we're gonna pretend that like nobody's seen it yet, and I'm like polishing it up for presentation, right? So I want to get it nice and final. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Just work up some of the rendering. We got some things to clean up here and there. Like imagine like you're adding this to your portfolio, right? You want it to look nice. So that's what I'm going to endeavor to achieve. Nice, clean concept for presentation. Yeah, so we'll get started on that. And yeah, just let me know what you guys have questions about. And we'll get going. Let's see what this is. I think we're gonna use this fur here, this fuzz, as like the basic concept. I might do some call outs of like other fur styles, because we did do a few. We did more than one last time, if you recall. We did this one. I think this is just have a, yeah, we did this one and we did this one. So we might do those as like a little call out. On a separate sheet, so that way everyone and on the team can review. Let me pop out the chat really quick. I wish the chat was on the left side instead of the right side when I'm streaming, but it's a good thing I can pop it out. Okay. Kivarstra, any coloring? That's a good question. I'm wondering about that as well. If I should do some color passes this early. It feels kind of early, but I don't know. I'll think about it. Maybe some color. I want to clean up this. Well, first thing I want to clean up is this side view. I want to get some nice, clean lines in here. Just kind of, some of this is still like sketchy. That's fine. Like it's fine to be a bit sketchy. I'm not gonna render this up. It's still gonna be a drawing, right? Like, but I do want it to feel a little bit more final. So some of these like underdrawing elements I want to get rid of. Got accepted, Kivarsha, I got accepted as a modeler for the mod team I'm part of. I've done some modeling before in ZBrush and Maya. I'd love some tips or tricks to help improve my workflow. Thanks. Yeah, sure, Kivarsha. Anything in particular? Like, what are you, like, if you take a look at your workflow right now, what are you struggling with? What do you feel like is getting in your way the most? I can help out if I will try to help you out. Do my best. I do really like this rough pencil. Feels a lot like a natural pencil. I like to work with this a lot. Space Dragon. I can't take this guy serious with his sharp teeth, then fuzz as well. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, they were fuzzy. We know they were fuzzy. So that's what we're doing. I think this guy would be pretty scary. I mean, like, look how big he is. He's gigantic. And he's not even the biggest pterosaur we have. This mouth coming at you. That's bad news, I think. But, you know, to each their own. You don't have to like fuzz if you don't want to. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, I didn't say congrats. Congrats, Kivarsha. That's really cool. Feather Treppier looks nice, except the one where he looks like a vulture. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I don't think the vulture look makes the most sense for a Tropeo. Probably, I would say it makes more sense for an Asdarkid, because I think the ideas around how their feeding style was more, probably lend itself more towards scavenging. So maybe for an Asdarkid it would be more appropriate. But yeah, I can see what you mean. But, you know, I think it's good to try it at least, you know. Like, you don't know if it's going to work or not until you try. So give it a shot. Don't disagree or dislike the fuzz, just not used to seeing the fuzz on dinosaurs. I understand, yeah. I get you. I mean, I had the same reaction when way back when I first saw like a feathered velociraptor, you know? Like I had that first reaction where I'm like, oh man, they're ruining my velociraptor, you know? That feeling. So I understand. It's totally fine. I hope with time, right, that the more you're exposed to it, the more, you know, the more it'll grow on you, I hope. but it's cool to feel that way. Jurassic Park was the first movie I saw. That was your very first movie that you ever saw? That's cool. Or are you talking about the first movie you saw with let me see, I might be out of the loop here. Let me see. Infernal, hi, how's it going? Okay. Kivarstra, fastest way to block out before detailing. I'm better at fine details, but I struggle with negative space and silhouette. Fastest way to block out before detailing. Okay. I switch between a lot of different techniques. My favorite ways of blocking out a mesh would be, if you're talking about speed, would be probably Dynamesh first, because you can block out the big masses of shapes, and Dynamesh and clip curve. So you block out the big masses, and then you use clip curve, like you throw in a sphere or something, and you squish it and move it around. Use clip curve to get your planes in. And then just re-Dynamesh whenever you need to. That's probably a really fast way to get the basic mesh going. Next fastest way would probably be like Z-spheres. Doing a Z-sphere armature. And then just making sure it has some decent proportions and all that stuff, and then you can start pulling and stretching the basic geometry that it generates there. Those would probably be my two go-tos if you're trying to get something done fast. If you're like a very detailed oriented person, you might struggle. I would say you want to watch out that you don't start jumping into details too fast. Because I feel like I would say I'm a very detailed oriented person as well. So I think we're similar in that way. And when I first started using ZBrush to model stuff, right, I think I would jump into details way too fast. You really want to spend a lot of time in the the primary and secondary forms. Make sure they're nice and clean. And then you layer your tertiary details on top. And what do I mean by clean? I wonder if I have a stage of one of my models. I don't think I have it easily accessible. Let me see if I have an example. Maybe I have one here. Like one way to think about it is like, let's see. It's very hard to talk about if you don't have an example. I want to find a model that I can show you, but I need to make sure that the model's like been actually released, so that way I don't like screw up NDA stuff. So bear with me a sec. I have something. Gosh. Sorry, my computer's being weird. Man, I wish I was better at documenting my process. This might be okay. It's not like exactly, but it's gonna have to do for now. -1, thanks for the donation. Thank you so much. Sorry, Furious. I was trying to help out. We're working on Tropeo today. I'm a little behind on chat. Sorry. We're working on Tropeo today. Just like cleaning up the concept. Getting it like represent more portfolio worthy, so to speak. Before jumping into more modeling stuff, or any modeling stuff, I should say. So just getting very specific with details. Probably going to change a little bit when I start jumping into ZBrush, but for the most part, I think it'll be around here, you know. Yeah, let me, I was going to show Kirasha something. So this is my model for Beast of the Mesozoic, Cyberzoic, Ceratosaurus. This is one of the work in progress views of the model. It's the earliest one I could find where I could kind of show you what I'm talking about. You can ignore stuff where you can see like where I started adding in. This is right at that borderline where I'm talking about like working on your secondary forms, and then right at the borderline where you would start adding detail. So you can kind of see what my forms look like before I start adding detail. They're very smooth. They're still like specific. Like you can see where the anatomy is. Like you can see the latissimus dorsi is right here. You can see like here are the landmarks, or like the definition in the sculpt, right? But there just wouldn't be any wrinkles yet. And I think the hardest part is like trying to hold off, because you can really kind of mess up your mesh if you start jumping into details before this is established, because your details are they're gonna make the surface undulate. They're gonna make it rise and fall, right? Because you're adding height and carving in to get your detail on top. If you do that before the undersurface is ready, you can start destroying your form. And you don't want to destroy your form. You want to add on top. You think of it like a cake, right? Like, let's say you have the side of the body or something, and it's got a nice rounded form like this, right? When you add detail, you want to add on top of the surface. And then you add more detail, you want to add on that. You want to build. Very rarely do you want to like alter and like go into this surface. you're trying to support it, right? So that's kind of what I mean. When I was first starting out, this was a big struggle for me. So I really had to dial that in and really like resist the urge to get in there and start detailing. And then after that, I felt like my models felt more clean. Clean is the word. It's not like the best word, but it's like it's a large part in what makes your model feel professional. Does it feel like detail on top of underlying structure? You know, does it feel like wrinkles on skin on top of muscle on top of bone? A lot of times, if you look at new, like beginner sculptors, the models just look like mushy, like they're made out of like just kind of doughy feeling, or like muddy. So that's how you would resist doing that, is just staying in the primary, secondary forms and making sure they're really solid. Oh, infertile. Okay, so you switched up. YouTube switched up your name. Okay, Spartan. Yeah, I wonder why it does that. I think I probably don't have that problem because I've only ever had one username on YouTube. So for those of you who have a longer history of usernames, that might be an issue. But thanks for letting me know. Just catching up with chat. Nika Pelagia, is Puru's skin finished? Yes, all the skins for Puru are done. I've done some fantasy creature concepts, Kivarsha. Kivarsha, yeah, if you have any models that you'd like me to take a look at, just send them to me on Discord, and I'll pop in there and I'll take a look. If you have any like specific areas, like, hey, I'm struggling with this part or whatever it may be, just let me know and I'll try to target my critique or feedback to that. Hopefully help you out more. But yeah, feel free to message me and I'll do my best to help out. Minus, you can't sleep. Is it super late where you are? Silhouette is really hard. You have to be very mindful of it and like constantly just check it. You know, like, you know how in ZBrush, if you hit the V key, it'll usually, depending on how you have your swatches set up, it'll switch the model to black and you can see the silhouette really easy. The other way to check it is just turn your model to flat color in the matte caps and then just set it to black, or white's fine too if it helps you see better, and just look at it as a flat shape, and look around the edges and just kind of keep an eye on it. It's kind of like, you know, like in painting, people talk about like flipping your canvas. You should be doing that regularly to check to see if your composition and like your drawing is good. In sculpting, you want to check your silhouette a lot. So turn off the lights, right? Turn off the light and look at the silhouette on the screen. The other thing you want to check is your contrast, like the contrast of your detail. So one thing that helps when you're doing that is you can move the light in ZBrush to be like more side light, more like top light. That will reveal a lot about your sculpt. Also, change your matte cap from time to time. Matte caps can be tricky because they may be telling you information about your model that is not 100% accurate. Like some matte caps will exaggerate features. Like some matte caps will exaggerate the creases or high points in your model, and visually it might look good. Like it might seem like the details have nice depth and all this stuff, but the matte cap might be like skewing your judgment a little bit. So change your matte cap. Check it on multiple different matte caps while you're working. That'll help. If you have time, kick out or decimate, copy the model, decimate it, kick it out to Blender or something, and then move some light around it. See how it looks. That'll help. I would say 3D print it, but that's too much time and too much material to worry about doing that while you're working. That would be a really slow workflow if you did that. Do you need to add joints? Do you need to add stretch marks and so on in the joints so the animation phase looks right? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, that helps. I mean, I normally don't worry about that too much because the motion of the animal will kind of dictate where those wrinkles go. So it's kind of a supporting animation, but I'm not like necessarily thinking about the animation while I'm working. I'm more so just thinking about how does the animal move? Where would the motion, the repetitive motion of the animal's movement show up on the body? And then I'm just kind of building that in. I'm not necessarily thinking, the animation needs to look good when it's running, so I need to put creases here, Speaking of Puru, the gray and blue skin is your most favorite. Thanks. Cool. I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, no problem. $3.22 in Spain. Wow, -1. That's very early. I hope you don't have to go to work tomorrow. I mean, I've had those days too. Like recently, actually. On my trip to Colorado, I don't know what it was. It must have been just that my normal routine was like disturbed a little bit by traveling, right? But almost every night that week that I was gone, I woke up super early and I was not able to get back to sleep. was around like 1 to 3, somewhere around there. And yeah, it was kind of painful. Because like inevitably I would crash, right? Like somewhere during the day, and I would just have to like muscle through it, try and stay awake. Fortunately, I was moving around a lot, like between meetings and stuff, so I didn't have to like try that hard. But if I was sitting at my desk, that would have been really tough. Ooh, painterly art style in sculpture. That is a toughie. Is that what you mean? Like you want to be painterly, but in like 3D? There are some artists that can do that. I would say they have a painterly approach to sculpting. Simon Lee is one of those that I would say has that approach. He goes by Spider Zero on social media. If you haven't seen his stuff, I'm sure you probably have. He's a pretty famous guy. There may be a few other sculptors I can recommend that you take a look at. I mean, classical sculptors. Rembrandt is probably one. Is it Rembrandt? Let me see. Or am I mistaking another sculptor's name? My art history is rusty. Yeah, Rembrandt. If you look at some of his sculptures, I would say they're pretty painterly. They're very loose, gestural. But they're still very cool. Especially I actually didn't know that he did a lot of animals. I thought he was more of a figurative sculptor, but he does have a lot of animals here. Oh, my reference got away from me. I can't sleep. I'm the Batman of my town. Okay, so this like cutaway, I need to make sure is pretty clean, because I want it to be clear that it's a cutaway of the membrane. I could do something fun like put the cross section of the bone or something there. I don't know about that though. It might be too like gory for some people, so I won't do it. Another thing I could do is use this to kind of blend stuff instead of totally erasing it. The watercolor brushes in Clip Studio are really nice. This stuff is covered by, the back is covered by fur, so I won't get too worried about it, but I do want to clean it up just a little bit. Is there a good illustration book you'd recommend for dinosaurs, integument, hair, skin, and so on? For dinosaurs specifically? That's a hard one. I don't think there is one. Not for like artist reference, you know. The closest thing you could probably come to is maybe like The Art of Saurian or something. Otherwise you're kind of just reliant on like some of the helpful like call outs and stuff that people do online. Yeah, somebody needs to make a book like that. So this cutout, I am going to do a little bit of, I want to clean it up even more, and then I'll do a little trick. That's very small. Why is, oh, there you go. Oh, that's way too big. I need to get it pretty tiny. Go like a 4. Yeah. This will help me get a nice consistent curve. So we get that curve in there, and then I can select it, invert the selection, and then fill it. Lock that fill, and then I can get some nice soft gradient stuff going. The thing I want to do is I want to show that there's like a crease right here. There's that form change. I don't know if that's exactly the way to do it, but it goes further down, further in space down that way, right? Away from us, and then it stops, and then it becomes a side view again. I think it'll just make it look a little bit nicer. Because if you imagine, like, if this were a 3D, right? If this were in 3D, and you slice this off cleanly, it would leave that sort of surface. That's kind of what I'm trying to go for. We can still probably use a little bit of a border because it's not a rendering, it's a, I would say it's more of a sketch. So there we go. Something like that to represent the wing membrane where it's placed. And then we can start working back in on here. I also want to do a nice clean outline around the whole thing, but we'll get to that in a second. Design pencil. I'm probably going to study how you do your shadows. Oh, cool. Yeah, go for it. I don't even know if I know how I do my shadows. I kind of just, I'd say I'm very much influenced by, it's not, I don't know if it's necessarily an influence, but it's like, I worked a lot with Copic markers when I was in college. Copics and pens. Prisma's kind of, but not so much. More Copic. And I kind of do that. If you look at like any marker art, you can kind of see the similarities. I think, but you don't really worry about, like, you look at kind of graphic shapes. It's almost like cell shading, kind of. You look at kind of graphic shapes and you use like, generally it's like a 10%, a 30%, 50 and 70% like gray, 70 being the darkest and 10% being the lightest. And then you kind of just look at where the light is hitting and you'd make like a very kind of graphic shape. You don't really worry about blending. You can, like people get very blended marker drawings. I don't really worry about it too much. And then sometimes you can go over the marker with, that's kind of what I'm doing now, is like you can go over the marker with Prismacolor pencils, usually a black one, to like shade in and like get darker or like make lines. That's kind of what I am doing right now. You see me coming back with this pencil brush to get more specific. But that's really like the approach. Whether I'm conscious of it or not, I think that's probably where this all comes from. So if that helps you at all, you can probably look up some people drawing with Copics to see how they do it. Now I got this fuzz added on top here. We're just going to do a little bit of cleanup on this. I'm trying to keep the fur layer on its own, but I know I'm totally not doing a good job of that. There's probably something. I think I just did it with the eye. There's some layers mixing around here that probably shouldn't be mixing up. Copics, exactly how you have it. C-O-P-I-C, Copic. Copic marker. I think I have one. Yeah, this is this isn't a Copic. So Copics are really nice, but they are expensive. I will tell you that. So sometimes, I mean, there are other brands out there that do basically the same thing. Some that are like, can compete with Copic. Copics are nice because you can refill them though. But really any alcohol-based marker will be nice. The thing about it though that I would recommend to you is try to get one that has two ends. So like this one, you can see it. Am I even, let me see if I'm even showing you guys. I might be off. This one here. This one's from Artist Loft. Not sponsored. This one has, if I can take it off, so it has a brush tip. This is the one, this is the side I use the most for like details, and you can like blend stuff. And then it has a chisel tip. You can do wide sections with this or draw with this. I don't really use that chisel tip too much. But that's basically, it's basically a Copic, but it's not a Copic, you know. I have my Copics, but they're somewhere in a flat file or something. But that's what you're looking for. You don't really need a lot. Copics have a lot of range of colors and stuff like that, but you don't really need the colors if you don't want to deal with that. You can just get away with a set of, usually they come in warm gray. So there's two types. There's a warm gray. And then there's a cool gray. I use both. depends on what kind of paper you're working with. Sometimes the warmer gray or the cool gray will look better. But then all you need is you need a 10%, a 30, a 50, and a 70. Because they have all of these. They have 10 through 100. 100 is black, basically. They also have a colorless blender that you can get, but you don't really need that unless you're like wanting to get really smooth transitions. So these you can get away with 4 markers. I think each marker is like, I don't know. How much is a Copic marker right now? Last time I bought them, they were like $12 for 1 marker or something like that, maybe. $8 per marker. So it's not super expensive. And again, you can refill them, which is nice. This one you can't refill. I don't think. One other cool thing, I'm going off on like a bunch of traditional like drawing media stuff, but one cool thing too is like, so get your markers, right? Get a toned sketchbook. You can buy sketchbooks that have like a brown toned paper or gray toned paper. That's really good. And then you can like draw, right? Like pretend I'm drawing on real paper right now. Give me 1 second. Let me turn all of this to pretend like this is real paper and I'm drawing with pens and marker. This is how it would pretty much look like. You'd have the grain of the paper, of course, but that's pretty much how it would look like. Then you can get like a nice gel pen. This is a good one that I got. It's very opaque. It's white. This is from Uniball. And you get your white gel pen after you've done your drawing, your nice drawing. Get your gel pen. And then you can go back in on top of your drawing with some nice highlights. Or details or whatever you want. You can also go in with a white Prismacolor pencil or any white color pencil you want, really, but a white color pencil you can go back in with. Where the heck? There they are. And then just hit like highlights on some focal areas. Whiteout. You can use whiteout too, if a whiteout pen. You can paint if your paper is thick enough. You have to make sure it's pretty durable. You can go in with white gouache and paint your highlights back in. It's furious. Okay, I can check that. I copy pasted the title from the Puru. So it might have screwed up some stuff. So I'll fix it. We're giving the Tropeo double life. He's more alive than the Peru was. Thanks for letting me know. I'm terrible at proofreading. But yeah, like, see how that, I mean, it looks pretty cool. It's a very cool look when you get a nice full sheet of sketches or whatever. You can really do this. So you can do this in, like I'm doing it right now in you can do this as a good start for a base of a painting, like a whole painting too. Like you have this, right? And then you go over with a multiply layer. You can do this in traditional media too, but it's a lot harder. Maybe like watercolors or something. You can do this, but like you can go over here. We can get like, you can start glazing some colors over. The only thing that's hard about this is that the gray color underneath here is gonna deaden your color a little bit. But it's a good start to a fairly solid. You don't have to use multiply. You can use maybe like overlay. Overlay is nicer because you can get some richer like tones in your colors, because the gray will show the true color of the whatever hue you're using. The only thing is you really have to watch your highlights because they can blow out. Like they can get really, really white, and your colors will start looking chalky. So you don't want that effect. You want your colors to look nice and clean. So you can do something like this. Get a nice, you know, I'm gonna do the cliche eye stripe because I still think that looks really cool. And I can't think of anything better right now. So you can do stuff like this is really nice. And this is a fairly solid start to a good rendering. You can render a whole painting like this. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks a lot. So yeah, it's a very cool workflow. I'm really glad I learned how to do this when I was in college. It's one of the workflows that a lot of the workflows I learned back then I still use. But this one is probably the most like reliable, most like utilitarian workflow. if you're an artist and it's very good to have like one workflow that's like your tried and true like workflow that you can just go back to. You know that it's reliable. You know that it's going to work. You've done it a lot of times. Repetition is key. It's very good to have a workflow like that. And for me, this is one of those workflows. Grayscale to color has always been like a very, it's always been a way that I've worked. It took a while to solidify it and like really like make it work for me. But it is very reliable. Exactly, Ashley. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I kind of went off, didn't I? I went off on a tangent about markers and rendering that I didn't really have to do, but we'll get back on track now. It's fun though. I like it a lot. I kind of like the gray. You guys like the gray? Should I keep it with the white? I don't know. We'll try it out for a while. I probably need to add some like paper texture or something on here just to make it look a little bit nicer. Because this can be a little bit plain looking as far as presentation goes. Fur. Where's the fur? Okay. There it goes. Take off the highlights for now. Furious. I've been curious what colors you would choose for Tropeo. Curious how the yellow/orange will look in the end. Yeah, I'm not sure. Keratin for beaks. It's very common to have it be yellow or orange, as you probably already know. So that might be a common color that pops in. But then again, we have this structure here that we can throw a lot of color and stuff on, pattern on. Yeah, I don't know. I'm also like I'm debating whether I should like finalize the concept, right? And then just go into color and just like do some quick concepts of potential patterns and then go into modeling. I'm debating on whether I should do that or not. Because it's also a route to take, you know, but it's not usually the way I work. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll have a fully fleshed out like color scheme for everything, but I would say that's more rare. Oh, okay. It's because I'm not on the... I was like, why is this not erasing? I really like Clip Studio Paint because you can paint in with transparency. You don't have to like erase. You can just select an empty spot in your canvas and then it'll paint the transparent pixels back in. I just think that's a really cool feature. Spartan. Oh, have you been changing your name? Don't worry, don't worry. Okay. Just gotta clean up these teeth, and then I think the rest of it's good, and we can move on. I'm being a little nitpicky about this stuff. Like it needs to be clear. That's the one thing that I've kind of learned over the years. Is like it doesn't need to be like finished perfect, right? But it does need to be clear. Clarity and refinement aren't the same thing. They don't have to be the same thing. Something can be clear, but it can be relatively unrefined. Like I've seen people scribble something down on the paper, and technically it's not super refined, but I can understand exactly what's going on. So there's a balance between that. I want to lean more on like clarity than like super perfect refinement. So that way we can kind of, speed things along, be efficient. I mean, I could just like render the heck out of this and like make it like a super done painting of of an orthographic view of the Tropeo, but is that really necessary? I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not. Yeah, for some reason YouTube uses my handle instead of the actual name. Yeah, no worries. It does help me. I will say that. I like seeing familiar names in the chat. Okay. It's pretty cool. Doing that little touch of highlight there, it kind of makes me want to keep doing it. So I think it looks cool. We'll just do it around the face though, because that's the focal area. Full focus to the face. Yeah, Spartan, go for it. Give it a shot. Crocodile took around 100 hours. The Puru, I mean, took around 100 hours of condensed, you know. And I would also say like probably less than that, because you have to factor in that I'm talking, like I'm working, right? But I'm also talking to everybody and trying to like answer questions and like, so there's time, there's downtime. So I would say it's probably less than 100 hours. In reality, it's probably more like, I would say it's closer to 80, 90, 80. 2 weeks worth of work, you know. I can get a model done in 2 weeks if I was just like focused on it, and I could focus on it all day long. We would be speeding through these models. Yeah, perspective can be a real drain. I don't know. Perspective has been the hardest skill for me to pick up, like in terms of foundational skills, because it's just so like formulaic and like so mathematical, and my brain just does not think that way. I really suck at math. So when it comes to perspective and like analyzing angles and like it gets really complicated when you're trying to like plot points in space and like mirror them over to the other points so you can get an accurate, you can like plot shadows and all this crazy stuff you can do with perspective drawing. It was very hard. I mean, I still don't really utilize it. Like, I think it's very rare for people to have the actual time to like do a drawing where they can actually plot the perspective and then like plot the shadows and do all the like super technical stuff. I think majority of industry artists, especially if they're environment artists or like industrial design, they probably freehand most of their stuff. Maybe if they're doing something very, very polished, they might plot it out. But then again, you have like 3D you can do really quick. I think probably a lot of them learn 3D specifically for that reason. Soothing the magical bear. I've never managed to catch his live stream, but I wanted to ask, I saw you actually sculpting each scale. What was the benefit of doing that over painting the scales in substance? I mean, you could paint the scales in substance. I think it's just helpful to have them in the actual geometry, because if you ever need to like what if we needed to 3D print like if we wanted to do some sort of product in the future and we needed to 3D print the the Peru, then, you know, those textures aren't like real. They're not like part of the mesh. So I would have to go in and I'd have to do some like crazy like displacement or like some other stuff to get it to be like part of the 3D mesh. That way we could get it out into real space. That kind of thing is a factor. Like I'm trying to like think far ahead and like future proof stuff. The other thing is like I just like to do it. I like sculpting. I don't really like to paint on textures. I like to sculpt them. So there's that aspect. Like either way I have to do it, right? So like I kind of get to pick and choose which way I prefer, and I prefer just to have it in the mesh. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say one way is like better than the other. I see like why you're asking. So it's kind of a mix of personal preference and like a little bit of like worrying about like if I have to ever 3D print it or do anything like that. I just don't want to have the hassle of like having to figure that out, you know? I always think in terms of that because I do so much, like I do a lot of 3D printing because of my work with Beasts of the Mesozoic. Like my mind is always thinking like optimizing the mesh. Like we could turn this mesh into a game mesh. We could turn it into just like something for a render. We could turn it into an actual physical sculpture. Like I want it to be capable of filling all those needs. So that's why I prefer to just sculpt it. The only time I've ever done like substance painter scales all over is for sauropods. Because sauropods, their scales are super, super tiny. It's a huge surface to cover. And ZBrush, 9 times out of 10, you can't subdivide the model high enough to get the resolution you would need to sculpt those scales in. So it's just better to do it in Substance Painter because you can infinitely tile, or you can tile it much more and get the size you need. So I've done that for sauropods. That's like the only instance where I would consider doing that over sculpting. Is for sauropods. Okay. I'm going to look for a texture because I would like a little bit of grit. If we are going to keep the gray background, I want like a little bit of grit to the background. So that way it doesn't look so just like flat. So give me 1 second. I'm going to search. I have a bunch of textures that I've had like since forever. I recently had to like reorganize my whole hard drive. It took forever. Let's see. Did I not transfer those over? Now the problem is like I reorganized everything and I have to relearn where everything is now. So that's fun. Here we are. I found it. I just need some kind of... I have these old paper textures that might work. Or just like a grungy sort of wall texture or something. Might work. Something like this. Should be high res enough, I think. This is a gigantic. If this is only covering this much of the canvas, this is a gigantic canvas. But we'll work with it. We'll stretch it out and see how it goes. Should be fine. I'm making a Sudi. Look great, by the way. I'm making a Parenti lace monitor. I attempted painting them in Substance, but it didn't look so good. Sculpting that many tiny scales doesn't seem feasible either. Make some. Here's a combination for you. Make a tileable texture, right? Like in Substance Designer, or you could do it by hand. In ZBrush, like make a patch of scales and then make it tileable. Take your model into Substance Painter and then project those scales onto the surface. Just make it black and white though. And then export that texture back into ZBrush. Make sure, you'd have to have your ZBrush model UV'd too, exactly the same, right? It'd have to be the same model. And then use that map to extrude your bumpy texture for your scales. I would try that if you don't want to like literally go in by hand. Then you can clean it up by hand afterwards. But that might be a nice middle ground for you. That won't like be a total pain. I want this to be kind of subtle. be kind of subtle here. Actually, I could do this and then maybe paint some of it out with a mask. Because I want kind of like a vignette. So in the corners have a little bit more texture than in the center. Spartan, do you still create artwork for yourself as a hobby despite working for EOE and possibly other companies? Yeah, I do a lot of that. The only bad thing is that it never gets finished. So I have a ton of personal projects that I just have not shown anyone. They're on the hard drive. They're in sketchbooks. They're just there, you know. I do plan on soonish. I kind of waited too long this year to do it, but soonish, I want to start a stream, an art stream. I will start an art stream. I gotta change my like verbiage, you know. I will start an art stream where I just focus on my personal projects. Probably like one day a week. Like I'm still fairly busy. I want to keep working on Echoes of Extinction and other projects that I have going. But I do want to dedicate some time, you know, a few hours a week to my own stuff. I think that would be good practice. I think as an artist, I think you should have your own stuff that you're working on. I think that's healthy, you know. Helps you like keep your creative juices going. Get your own ideas out there. Ashley, always keep mental health in consideration. Absolutely, yeah. I agree with that too. There's an aspect of that to the like working on your own stuff. Just kind of letting yourself breathe a little bit. With my own stuff, there's no pressure, right? Like I can do whatever I want. So there's nobody expecting anything. There's no deadline. There's no anything, you know. I can just have fun. Do you ever get burned out doing this for so many hours during so many days? You know, there was a moment. This was before I started working on Echoes of Extinction. There was a moment where I did think that I was like about to just burn out. But I don't think it was necessarily, it didn't have to do with just the fact that I was drawing for so long, for so many days. It had to do with more like the job I was doing was very draining. But I left that job, so don't have to deal with it anymore. I probably should have left it a long time ago, to be honest. But a long time before I realized but I don't have to deal with it anymore, so we're good. work where you're appreciated, work where people, actually value and like appreciate your time. That was part of it. I think as artists, like we get really excited to like help projects and help them get going, and like I'm definitely that way. Like I want to support and I want to collaborate and I want to share ideas and like be part of a team and all that good stuff. But there are definitely people out there who will take advantage of that stuff. They'll see that you're very driven or you're very like hungry for something, like, and they'll take advantage of it. And that's sad, but it's true. It's a reality of the industry. So you just have to watch out for that kind of stuff and work with people that you trust and that they appreciate what you're doing for them. Okay, let's work on this top view a little bit. Top view, we need to add some fuzz. The top view. Need to clean up the, ooh, that's nice and strong there. But we need to clean up the silhouette a little bit. Make it nice and readable. I'm going to tone down these edges here. Yeah, that stuff burns you out a ton. Like if you're not feeling like, if it's super toxic, if you're not feeling like, the people around you are even like appreciative of what you're doing, like that burns you down way quicker than if you had a ton of work, right? If you had a ton of work, but everybody around you was super positive and like cheering you on and like there for you, there to support you and like whatever you needed and all that stuff. I feel like I could work much longer under that environment than like the latter, right? Like where just everything's negative and bad. Like, so the environment takes a toll or can help you a lot. So yeah, I've been very aware of that kind of stuff since my experience on that other project. So, yeah, it's definitely changed me, maybe for the better. Maybe that's a way to look at it, right? Like something good that came out of it. Because at the same time, like I'm one of those people. I can be kind of a like people pleasery, right? And that's not really. That's not too good. I'm afraid to say no sometimes. So I get myself into things that maybe I shouldn't, but I just want to help. But got to be careful. What's up, Kivarsha? What is the lulls? Oh, you were late. Okay, good. Well, maybe that's not good. Maybe you went through a tough time. We'll have to like share war stories one day. But, fortunately, you have teams that are totally the opposite, right? Like Echoes of Extinction. Because I've been working with everyone here and they've been super awesome to work with. So there are people out there who are totally they are very supportive, very positive, willing to work through, willing to work with you to like work with your schedule, work with like through like misunderstandings or like I must have asked like Furious so many things about like how the game processes textures and all this stuff. And he's been so good about explaining stuff to me, stuff that I don't even understand about how UE5, right? Yeah, UE5 processes textures and all this stuff and how we're going to get it all to work and creating this whole system for how the textures change colors and all this stuff. But it's been great. Oh, I had trouble asking for help. I'm totally that way too. I can be. Rumble, how's it going? Oh, thanks, Furious. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and it's cool because it's cool just like learning to work with people because people have different styles, and you kind of have to like learn about them and like try to meet them where they're at. And you kind of have to tell it's kind of nice to share with people like what your style is too. Like I spoke with Furious a while ago, and I told him that I'm a very, I'm an artist obviously, but I said that, I'm a very visual learner. So after that, I noticed that he started to share more images with me and like explain how things work with images better, and it helped me understand much more easily. So you kind of can learn how each other works and like help each other understand things in that way. So it's been really cool. And yeah, of course, like not one thing that I had really struggled with, especially in the beginning of my career, is like feeling like what's the word, like just feeling like I had to know everything, because if I didn't know, then I would have to ask questions, and if I had to ask questions, then other people would know that I didn't know. And then like feeling like it, because you're a professional, right? And you feel like when you're a professional you need to know everything, and really you don't. But if you're a professional, you should know when to ask questions. That was one thing that I really had to learn. Not being afraid to ask questions, even if they're kind of like obvious, or like some people think there's like dumb questions, like very obvious, right? But there's really not. I would rather like ask a dumb question and like avoid a problem than pretend like I know it and then cause a mess later on, You gotta communicate, and like if something's confusing, say it's confusing, and then get help to figure it out. Glad Puru stream is done and Tropeo is here. Oh, that's awesome, Rumble. Yeah, we get to move on to something new, right? My favorite thing is asking for help from Chica, and 2 seconds later I fixed the issue. Yeah, there's those instances too, right, where like it's kind of redundant. Like you think you're like in this, oh my god, I don't know what's going on, but then it's like resolved right away. That happens to me as well. So I'm just going through and doing this like little light touch of fur on here. The fur zone is going to cover, it's not going to cover the whole wing, right? Like it covers like this. I would say it covers like this portion. And then the legs. Like a little bit of a border on the outside, and then the rest is like skin. Maybe like I don't know if we can do that in game though. I think in reality you would probably have little like microscopic fur along the whole thing, like kind of like peach fuzz sort of thing. But for this we're just going to keep it as skin, I think. Because I think that would be, I don't know how you would even do that. It's probably too small a detail to worry about. Unless we're doing like a cinematic level character, I don't think we need to worry about it. Space Dragon, good night. This is a cool tool that I like. I also really like Clip Studio 4. It's this continuous line curve. It's really nice when you want to get a nice, clean, long line. And it needs to be like very precise. I mean, I could do it with freehanding, but it would take a while. This, because my hands are kind of shaky. Or not shaky, like, I just have a very sketchy style. I don't have like that like animator cartoon, or like comic book artist precision when it comes to lines. So I end up having to like sculpt the line a lot, and this is just faster. I feel like it feels way more natural because this is basically like in Photoshop you have the pen tool, right? But I kind of hate the pen tool. But this is kind of like the pen tool, but feels just a little bit different. I don't know how to explain it exactly. It just reacts much nicer, I think. Why do you go into the level of detail in the concept if you are the one making the asset? How often does something you draw not translate well into 3D concept in the end? That's a good question. I mean, I don't need to go this much into detail, really. I mean, we could just start doing the 3D model right now, probably. I feel like, but here the thing is like sometimes even though you're the one doing the modeling and stuff, you still have to submit this work to somebody else to review, right? Like I'm not the one making the shots. I mean, making the calls, calling all of the shots. Someone still needs to take a look at this concept and approve it. So if it's more polished, if it looks better, then it's a clearer vision of what the final will look like. So it's not just about like doing it for me, for my own reference. It's also about doing it for others' benefit who are going to review stuff. I'm also keeping in mind, like, I mean, it does help me. Like, I'm solving a lot of stuff that I would need to solve anyway. So solving it now, I can kind of rest much easier in the 3D phase. So it does make the 3D phase much, much smoother. Even though I could just like wing it, right? Like I could go into 3D and wing it and figure it out. The vision is much clearer here. I just kind of view it as like a different way of working. Like it's not... I mean, I enjoy drawing all this stuff. It's coming together. I'm getting a lot of what's the word? It's just like more thorough planning, I suppose. But mainly, like, the reason for doing this would be to show somebody. And sometimes, like, just for discipline wise, like, just because I'm doing this for myself, I don't want to get lazy, you know? I don't want to, like, cut corners necessarily. Sometimes I just like to make sure I'm doing my due diligence and stuff, you know, like, what if I wasn't here? Like, what if, I needed to go on a trip or something in the next week and somebody else needed to start the model, like, would they be able to do it with the stuff that I have? Maybe. I feel like they would now, right? Because it's pretty clear what they need to do, how they need to execute it. Like, maybe, like, who knows? Like, maybe in the future, maybe I'm not the only modeler. Maybe we have 4 or 5 modelers. You know, you don't know how big the team could get, and then maybe I have to like pass on. Maybe my role changes. Maybe I have to pass on the ideas instead of actually executing the ideas, you know, stuff like that. Just a consideration. Thanks, Rumble. Ooh, Echoes of Extinction art book. That would be cool. I think I need a better. I wonder if I do this to the side view. This is the side standing. This is the side view. It's the head. I don't know why that's on. Doesn't do anything. I think I can probably merge this down. We'll make a duplicate of it because it's in its like separated state, and let's see what happens if I dupe that. it does make the drawing a bit stronger. I think I need a better like line around it just to make it clear. We can do that as a polishing thing though. Like just looking at it as a sheet, right? Like we could go in and clean some stuff up. So it just reads better. I think we're pretty close. I think I need to add some fur to this guy, and then we'll update these little graphics here in the corner that show the scale. And then this is a pretty solid model sheet. We can start working on the model from. Thanks, Kivarstra. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's about time to wrap up too. So I've been on for a couple hours already, so we will start getting ready to get out of here. Saturday still looks good. Saturday we'll be continuing to work on the Tropeo. We're just gonna keep going with the flow, you know, like we'll get as much done as we can in the streams, and where we end up is where we end up, and we'll see where we get to on Saturday morning and see how far we get. But yeah, thanks everybody for the questions. Thanks for the convo. I will see you on Saturday if you want to jump back in and take a look at what I'm doing. Okay? Have a good one, everyone. See you on the weekend.